What is up, YouTube? It's Josh. This is the Den of Nerds. Guys, this is a video all about the Twin Suns episode of Star Wars Rebels and what it means for canon. And I should say right off the bat, this video will include spoilers, obviously, for the Twin Sun episode. So I thought about trying to keep this spoiler free, but honestly, nah, I'm not feeling that. I want to get right into it. Talk about the episode. Talk with you guys about how I felt about it and what I think it means for canon in general. There was a lot of stuff going on in this episode. Some of it very, very subtle. And I have all kinds of thoughts about what was going on in the creator's head, what was going on in the actor's head, what was going on with the fans and with Disney. I have a lot going on in my head, so I don't know how much of that I'm going to get into. But overall, let me just say this right off the bat. I absolutely love this episode. I unabashedly love this episode. And I'll go even further than that. I actually really, really like the fight. And I know that's going to sound crazy because, yes, it was super short. And it was so hard for me to stay away from spoilers. It really was. It was so hard for me to stay away from spoilers. And there were people at my day job, and I'm talking to you, Joe. I'm talking to you because I know you're watching this video, but there were people at work that I'm not going to say they were trying to spoil it for me, but damn, I had to be real careful to try not to get this stuff spoiled for me, whether it be on social media, whether it be in person. I did not get to see it live, and then when I went to go check it out Sunday morning on Google Play, it wasn't available for purchase, and it had been leaked, and it was a crazy, it was madhouse. So I did the best that I could to avoid spoilers. I didn't realize what was going to happen in the fight, but I did know that a lot of people were disappointed with the fight in general. And it doesn't take a genius to realize that the fight was really short when all of the little YouTube videos that pop up for you are 2 minutes or less and they're labeled with the fight. So I knew it was a short fight. Having said that, I think that the fight is actually incredible, and I'm going to get into that in a minute. But let's break this down. Let's talk about what this exactly means for canon. The first thing I want to talk about is the fact that Obi-Wan knows who Ezra Bridger is. This is kind of crazy. It shows a couple of different things. First of all, it shows that old man Ben Kenobi knew a lot of what was going on in the galaxy at large. He was not just sitting on Tatooine as a hermit, not checked in at all and just watching over Luke. We have to imagine that he was probably convening with Master Yoda, and of course Master Yoda had been talking to Ezra Bridger. So they knew what was going on. I mean, think about it. Ezra has had multiple encounters with Darth Vader. He's more or less a player, and I found it really interesting that in this episode, they were willing to make a canon connection between Obi-Wan and Ezra Bridger. It is really surprising for a couple of different reasons. First of all, I mean, Obi-Wan puts all of his stake in Luke, and then when he tells Yoda that Luke is the last hope, which is something I'm going to come back to later, he said, that boy is our last hope to Yoda, and Yoda says, no, there is another. Man, like it's you would imagine that's Leia that he's talking about. Now, originally, I know just from reading different materials and whatnot that that's not actually the intention. Like, Lucas did not intend for it to be Leia. In fact, I believe at that point, the brother-sister thing between Leia and Luke actually was not figured out. Now, there'll be a lot of stuff out there that will tell you that it is, but I think it's more or less George Lucas propaganda, and I do not think that's the case. You can look at the book Splinter in the Mind's Eye as an example of that, which had some really, really romantic stuff going on between Leia and Luke. And the movie itself, I mean, Empire kind of really heavily teases. You can look at it from the angle that Leia and Luke are in love. And it makes sense. Now, you know, we all kind of frame it as that they're brother and sister. We know that already. But you can look at it as though they're in love, and the movie still makes total and complete sense. Probably what Kirshner was going for. But in either case, it's very, very interesting. He knows who Ezra is, right? So that kind of blew me away. I was just like, I don't know exactly how I feel about this. He was clearly lying and putting forward an image that was way different than reality to Luke. And he says as much in return, right? In Return of the Jedi, he says, what I told you was true from a certain point of view. You know, that famous Jedi fake news sort of answer, So he had that going on, which is interesting. I mean, honestly, it is really interesting. Not exactly sure how I feel about it. It does recontextualize certain things in Star Wars, but maybe that's okay. Maybe that's what the canon is for now and the way to expand this. I mean, come on, like, at the end of the day, like, all of this actually happened in the story. That's what's really interesting. But next point and what it means for canon is basically, I mean, like, Obi-Wan is really, really strong. I mean, that's obvious. And not just strong with a lightsaber, even though clearly he is. I mean, he cut Maul down in literally 3 moves. But he's strong in the Force and just so wise. I mean, from the moment that he walks past Chopper to the very end where he's looking at Luke, you just get this sense that this dude is absolutely in tune with the Force. He's an absolute G and super, super strong. Just incredibly strong. And that's so important for a number of different reasons, because this kind of goes back to a theme you might pick up on me kind of with my thoughts about this episode is I get a disconnect between the things that George was trying to get across and the things that Disney is trying to explain in canon. Like, as an example, and this is something Dash Star talked about in his review. He did a live review of Twin Sons, which I caught later. But the fact that, like, George says that Vader and Obi-Wan were just old men in A New Hope. And that's kind of the explanation he gave to fans after he made the prequels, which have literally like ballerina Jedi Knights, they're ridiculous. And one of them is actually Obi-Wan. So the thing was, George literally just kind of explained it away as though they are old men. But then look at Rogue One. That old man Vader, because that thing is like 15 minutes away from A New Hope, Rogue One ends. That old man Vader went to Murder Town. He went to Murder Town, and it was beautiful and methodical and crazy and very awesome. So that old man thing, there's a disconnect there. Disney then makes this old man Ben. Now, granted, this might be, as from what I understand, 15 years before A New Hope in the timeline. So it's possible that Ben really gets like that old. But they portrayed a very strong old man Kenobi in this episode. It's like Disney puts that forward in canon, which recontextualizes a lot of the original Star Wars. And that's interesting to me. I don't know exactly how I feel about that. I can't decide whether that's bad and, no, or what that really means is that Obi-Wan is super strong in A New Hope. Vader is super strong in A New Hope, but they are playing like conservative with each other. They're not going to town on each other. I that is the only other explanation that I can kind of come up with in my head, is that they're both very strong, but just playing it safe and kind of feeling each other out, which could make sense. It could be really cool. So yeah, that's another interesting thing, is just how strong he is. And I think that it's, one of the things I also want to talk about was he's been training on Tatooine by convening with Qui-Gon Jinn, right? And it is possible, and I went into this in my Who Are the Wills video, that Qui-Gon has had training with the Wills. He's had training with the actual Wills, who were depicted as the Force priestesses in the last few episodes of Clone Wars. That's the connection I'm drawing here. So either way, he's been training with the priestesses, Qui-Gon, who then passes that training on to Obi-Wan, and that is what makes Obi-Wan a straight G. I mean, the dude is a Force thug. He is crazy strong, and it is awesome. The next thing that I want to talk about what this means for canon, is that Maul is really sick in the head, and we have to kind of imagine that he has been sick in the head. So this is probably, to be fair, my biggest problem with the episode, is that it really kind of belittles Maul's journey, because I can't reconcile the fact that this character who got brought back in Clone Wars literally became so much of a threat that Palpatine himself had to go put him down. So he's a big time player. The character that was able to accomplish that then towards the end of his life, for what I kind of see as no reason at all, snaps, becomes crazy, and goes after an old adversary in almost like what really felt like a last ride sort of a situation, like a really, like, I literally almost think that Maul went to Tatooine to die. Like that, it was that kind of a journey for him. Like he's like, with one last ride, you know, here we go, like wilding out sort of thing. And it makes no sense to me that he had done that unless he's been crazy and damaged and fucked up the whole time. So it's possible, and that's the only way, like I said, that I can reconcile that thing, is that it's like, okay, he's broken, he's been broken, and he's come to this point in his life that the only way he thinks that he can reconcile that he can atone or make up for his life or whatever, that he has to go finish off and kill the dude that originally cut him in half and caused all this pain or whatnot. And it's really, really bizarre. I don't quite get it. You know how in my preview video I kind of said that I don't think he's going there to fight him? And I believe that, and I stand by that just from what I know about Maul as a character. But my thing is this: I think that he's so conflicted that he went there to fight, but he didn't really go there to fight. Like, what I'm saying is I'm not wrong when I say that he didn't go there to fight, because his true purpose underneath all of the rage and confusion and everything was to have a conversation with someone who knew the Force like he did, who had also been affected by Palpatine and by the Empire and by the dark side. And I literally feel like that scene in Watchmen when the comedian goes to his arch enemy and he's like, isn't it fucked up that you're the closest thing that I have to a friend? That is what I believe Maul was more or less going to do. Now, he's so broken and twisted and fucked up that his fight was like his only way to actually do it. So he goes there and he's half-heartedly fighting. That's not what he's really there to do, but that's all he knows when it comes to solving problems. So that's what he goes and does, and he gets completely owned by a completely centered, strong Jedi Master. And I think Maul is way more capable than what he showed up for in this fight, because, you know, I've seen it with my own eyes. He's a badass, but he really wasn't with it when this conflict was going on. I think that's obvious, and I think it's also subtle, and little subtle things that you see here and there, and I'll get into that. There was this really sick nod where Obi-Wan says, I will mend this old wound, and that was a literal call to the Canon comic book that was very similar to this when Darth Maul goes and faces down Kenobi on Tatooine. This is Legends. It was a comic book. It was really crazy, really all over the place, and I felt like that was kind of a meta commentary from Filoni or the writers, and they were essentially mending that old wound and making that harder, or easier rather, to swallow for fans. It's like, look, this makes more sense. This is that same kind of a conclusion from Legends, but this is what happened canon-wise. Because it is a pretty cool idea that Obi-Wan wasn't just chilling on Tatooine, that he was literally fighting off things like Maul, who's like, he's strong. He's a strong adversary. So he comes to Tatooine and could have screwed everything up. I mean, you've got Luke, who I believe Obi-Wan believes is the chosen one, and Obi-Wan's sole thing is to protect that boy. And Maul could have literally screwed that up, which would have been really bad. But I thought that was very interesting, man. Like, mend this old wound, that direct call like that. Like I said, guys, there was a lot of stuff going on in this episode. Very, very interesting stuff. I also loved that Luke and his importance to Obi-Wan was like so much of his sole drive. Like as soon as Maul said protecting someone, that blue lightsaber lit up and Kenobi was ready for action, man. He was so fired up. And just to answer one of the questions that's been going on in the community, because people have been frustrated with the line that he, when Kenobi is holding Maul, the dying Maul, in his arms, and he says, "Is it the chosen one?" Because I don't think he says, "Is he the chosen one?" He just says, "Is it the chosen one?" Or something. I'll have to double check. But he doesn't, I don't think he says he. But Obi-Wan says he is. So, the question becomes, and this is what's going on in the community, is Maul saying, or rather, is Kenobi saying that Luke is the chosen one? And I think yes. I think he is. Now, that does not mean that Luke is the chosen one. It just means that Kenobi believes that he is. He is so willing to believe that Luke is the last hope. He's the new hope, right? He's what the movie's about. He's the thing that literally wins the day by turning his father, who, let's be serious about this, Anakin was still the chosen one. He still did it, but it was his son that kind of helped him. So, to answer that question directly, yes, I do believe that Kenobi believes that Luke is the chosen one. Doesn't mean that he is, just means that Obi-Wan thinks that he is. And it makes sense, right? I will call back to what I said way earlier in this video. And I'm sorry this video is kind of lengthy, but I have a lot of thoughts about this episode. But where Ben says to Yoda, that boy is our last hope, that is because he thinks Luke is the chosen one. That's why he's done everything that he's done since going to Tatooine to watch over the boy. Including, I think, sacrificing himself so that he could just become one with the Force and help Luke on his journey. Okay? So let's get into the fight itself. I do want to go over this. I don't know because this video is getting very, very lengthy, but I want to talk about the fight anyways. Here's what's so dope about this fight. Here's the thing that people are missing about this fight. The subtleties, man. This was so Seven Samurai. This was so old school. These guys are literally feeling each other out the entire time. Like, don't tell me you didn't get a sense of suspense and a thrill when you were watching it. I'd have to question if you have a soul if you didn't get the feels, as it were. Because everything, every movement that they did, Maul putting out the fire, the ignition of the lightsaber, the switching of forms, because they both switch forms, and I love that shot of Maul adjusting his stance. I mean, these guys were having a fight before the actual fight, and the suspense was crazy. I loved the ideological battle that was going on there, and Ben just being one with the Force. I mean, he even says to Ezra, I have no intention to fight him, though that seems inevitable now. It's like such a crazy thing to say. Like I don't personally intend to fight him at all, but I'm probably going to. You know what I mean? And it's crazy. Like there's a real confidence that goes with that, and I was fascinated by that. Like it was awesome. And on the other end of that, you have Maul saying these things, trying to induce some feelings out of Ben, coming at him from a different point of view, saying things like, look at what's happened to you, you know, you're rotting here, I came here to kill you, but maybe I should just let you rot. And that's all jousting. That is verbal jousting, because Maul, I do think, was smart enough to know that he was there. Like, I don't think, like, when Maul says protecting someone, maybe, I don't think he was just putting that together right then and there. I think he knew exactly what was going on. But he's jousting with Obi-Wan verbally and intellectually. Very, very cool stuff. And I thought that the actual execution of the fight was amazing. because it just shows the dominance of old man Ben Kenobi. And what was so satisfying, super subtle thing, old man Ben switches 3 different forms, and the one he ends with was the stance that his old master preferred. So he literally cuts down Maul, the guy that killed his master, by holding the stance that his old master loved to hold. Very, very cool stuff. I absolutely love that. I thought that it was sweet justice. Very cool. So I've been rambling for enough. I'm gonna end this video here. Let me know in the comment section, what did you think about the fight? What did you think about the episode? I mean, were you one of the people that were really disappointed with it? Did you think it was absolutely awesome? Please let me know your thoughts. More than willing to have a conversation about this. I loved the episode. I didn't quite like that it was the end of Maul. I wish that he would have, I don't know, crawled away from the fight, or we would have left it open. Loved almost everything about the episode except for Maul's motivation. So let me know in the comments section, what did you think about the episode? What did you think about the fight? Subscribe to the channel to get more awesome Star Wars videos, and like this video just because. Just do it. I mean, this is the video you were looking to like, so just do it. All right. I hope you're having an awesome and nerdy day. See ya.